kind of a big cultural phenomenon. It won an Emmy last year for interactive original series. It's the only, as far as I've been told, it's the only YouTube series to ever win a Primetime Emmy Award. And hopefully not the last. And then our current series is a show called Frankenstein MD, adaptation of Frankenstein, which we're doing with PBS Digital Studios, which is on now. You can watch the show on PBS Digital's YouTube channel, and it has its a live episode Tuesday. So if you come in, you're coming in a good time. And it's also PBS's first digital scripted series ever, and hopefully again, not their last. Now, what is indie TV? Indie TV to you. To me, well, I don't really believe that we are indie TV, though a lot of people think we are. All of our shows are funded. PBS, I don't know if it's really indie, you can easily say. So I guess indie is something where I look at it where it's a group that is doing a passion project, and ideally you like to make money on it, but it's really about the love of the property, the story, the show, the movie, that type of thing. I guess the TV would disqualify movie, but that's my answer. Go.
I'm Ursula Lawrence from the Writers Guild of America East. I handle digital media and independent film primarily for the Guild, but also several other mediums, I guess. And that's a tough question, actually. I mean, I think I could say what I think sets indie TV apart, maybe, is that it's creator-driven. And I think for me, when I've interacted with writers and filmmakers that are putting together independent TV, it's always, I guess what you were saying, for the love of the art and to do what they want to do, not what somebody, a studio hired them to do, or a network is decided that they want to put money behind because they think it's going to be the most profitable. So I'd say indie TV is creator-driven, and that's what makes it great. Is that an answer?
That's a great answer.
Thanks.
Rob needs a mic.
Okay. Oh, right, you need the mic.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Rob Barnett, and I'm the founder and CEO of Omnivision Entertainment, which includes a company that we founded in 2007 called My Damn Channel. We create, produce, I like the word co-create more than create. We co-create and produce original series and distribute it on every place that we can go and get a fair deal. We've been doing it for a long time, but I think my answer to the question indie TV is a mindset, an energy, and a new reality that every single one of us in this room are finally at a place that we had all talked about for a long time, this level playing field where there's an opportunity for every single one of us to make something so great and distribute it and get so much attention for it that the next project you do can be seen more than some show that's on television tonight at 8 o'clock. So I think indie TV is the new reality that brought all of us together. It's been a long haul since I think the beginning of our universe was probably the moment when Google bought YouTube for that $1.7 billion. And what everybody forgets is that, this was the time when we used to have to sit here for way longer than this panel to buffer a 3-minute video. and the minute that we could share video with each other in an instant was the minute that the creative game just was turned on, so that initial sort of UGC, user-generated content, user-generated video, the dogs and cats on skateboards, and all the sort of put-downs that people made about the early YouTube created this new reality where finally the content's getting better, the people in front of the camera and behind the camera are just bringing a lot more game to it, and it's still hard, it's a pain in the ass, there's never enough money, but I think we all know that it's moving in our direction, so I think we're here at a good time.
How am I supposed to answer that question with all these great answers? You're going to be screwed in the end there. Hi, I'm Kristen Nedopak. I'm the executive producer and showrunner for an award show by Geeks for Geeks called the Geekie Awards. And we are the epitome of indie. The award show is one of the only award shows that is 100% created by independent creators, that has sort of not become part of a studio production. And that's not to say that we won't. So to answer that question of what is indie TV, to me, I really feel that it really comes down to the indie creator, and it comes down to the group of people that are doing something that they're passionate about and that literally do not take no for an answer, do not follow the rules, do not try to do what everyone else is doing. They go out there and say, you know, I have this idea, I'm going to get it funded any way that I can, I'm going to make my dream happen, even if it means doing every single piece of the project. You know, you're the producer, you're the director, you're the writer, you're the actress, just to get it done without help if necessary. So for me, that's indie. It's just people that are out there going balls to the wall saying, I have a dream and I want to do this project, and getting it done. So.
Thank you very much. That was very thorough, everybody. Good work. Well, there's some other things we could talk about. I'm Dan Milano. I'm the International Social Media Manager at DailyMotion, and I also help out with partnerships around the offices in New York City. DailyMotion is the other white meat video website. We are top 100 in the world. I kind of help out, and I also I suggest features for the homepage and things that we could put in the right-hand rail. So if you've got cool content and you want to distribute a little more, talk to me. And what do I think indie TV is? Well, I think it's the area where we fill in the gaps of what's available on mainstream TV. There's a zombie show, but like, what else can we do? Like, is there a zombie comedy? If anyone has any sort of oddball twist on this or that, or if they want to see a show with stronger representation from this group or that group, it can be possible through indie TV. So it's a place where every type of story can be told, not just the types that all the suits are behind.
That was great. Okay, thanks, Sib. We are going to do this panel a little bit differently. I'm going to throw out a question to them and give them a chance to answer it. And then I'm going to pop up and take some questions from you, and I'll have some questions that I'll intersperse with your questions. So first question to you guys. Where are the gaps in the industries that these guys should be looking at to go, I can go fill that gap?
Music. I think musical anything, adding on to popular concepts. There's not enough of it, and it takes off in a big way. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I would say any niche, any kind of thing that has this niche, powerful audience that you can tap into. I mean, the web is fragmented. It's getting more fragmented. The audiences are dispersed, but they're all dispersing to these niche markets. And so there are probably millions of gaps that we could probably list out. Any type of comic book that you like, any kind of nuanced thing. I mean, go, Kristen. You must know a ton of these.
Yeah, comic books. No, I actually think live television, and that's one of the reasons why we do a live show, because I see a lot of scripted content out there. I see a lot of even vlog content and content that isn't scripted, but it's also taped. And so I think we're in the age where people want their content right now. They don't want to wait for it. That's why the Netflix model works, because I can watch all of House of Cards at the same time. I don't have to wait. So I think that doing something interesting, either with scripted or non-scripted that's live, is really going to capture that audience right now, because they cannot see it afterwards. They have to watch it right at that moment. And I would like to see more live content.
I'll talk about two gaps really briefly. I agree with live. We did a live show every day for about a year, 5 days a week, and it just seemed so counterintuitive. But because why live? But
That's an energy.
It leads to, I think, my first suggestion on a gap is more shows that are truly interactive. This is something that I feel I forget to do all the time. We were unbelievably lucky at the early part of our company, and these two brilliant creators named Matt and Troy, I always say they're one vowel away from South Park, they created a show called You Suck at Photoshop that you can see at mydamnchannel.com, and this show became truly interactive, and I always forget because my background was television. I feel like we're supposed to make something great, show it to you, and you applaud, as opposed to make something great that you can actually become a part of. So I think that's still a big gap. The second thing that I'm thinking about all the time, and I'll pass it to Ursula, is I think there's a programming gap. You know, in every other form of media, including OLD media, there's a hell of a lot more curation and programming. And if we all decide to go to the movies tonight, there may be thousands of movies made, but there's a limited number that are the most heavily promoted movies. And I think that YouTube does a pretty poor job. They used to do a great job at finding your show, saying it's great, and a human being would put it on the homepage, promote the shit out of it, and it was great, but you'd also get that extra gas, on the pedal that I think is missing terribly now. There just needs to be, in addition to all the small d democracy of everything that we all make, there aren't enough people sort of choosing 10 of your shows and saying, these are the greatest shows today, please look at them, in the kind of way that, say, Entertainment Weekly behaves, or, radio, God bless it, always had, that limited top 40. I think the web's missing that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that the sites that I really love to look at when I'm either meeting with people or people have approached us are the really nicely curated. I don't know if this is a competitor of yours, so I don't know. But I really like Thunder Shorts right now, which I think is done by Snag Films. I think that they're just doing a really nice job sort of filtering down to be some very, finding some really good projects and just highlighting them, and it doesn't feel overwhelming when you get to the site. I like that. As far as what sort of content is missing, I don't know, we don't have any three-wall multicam sitcoms with a laugh track, and they're not really. That's my idea. Nobody can take it, but I think what Bernie said is true. I think when I was driving up here, I was thinking about the web series that I think have been the most successful, sort of from our perspective, and it really is people that have a very specific audience. So really think about a niche that there are so many, it's infinite, and then I think things that are really the ones that I love seeing are the ones that are just really clever and really just have something some little twist on a typical idea. I guess that's not really a gap, but you find that gap, and if it's clever enough, or if you've found a niche audience enough, someone is going to be really excited to watch it. Those are the shows I think that have been the most successful.
Awesome. Okay, so first question from you guys. Hands up. Who's asking? Here you go.
My name is Mark. I'm from here. Where do you get the funding? I mean, you got Kickstarter, you got, what's the other one? Indiegogo. When you really want to do a project, you really need to pitch it to somebody, and where does the average guy go to get that kind of funding?
How much funding?
Probably for the show, I'm thinking at least $500,000, because my show is, what would you do with a year off with pay? You got to get 5 people paying for the year and follow them around.
Well, yes, Kickstarter. You're not going to raise $500,000 in Kickstarter unless you have a really good product that's just buzzy. Or you have a large audience. So one of those has to come first. So I don't think Kickstarter is a good answer. I also think Kickstarter, I was telling this to some of the people in this room earlier, that I think Kickstarter is a double-edged sword. I think if you do Kickstarter for a creative project, you immediately give everyone of your audience members this entitlement that means that they feel that they can control your product or your show. And so they go, why does your show suck? Even though maybe it's a minority opinion, they go, why does your show suck? I paid for it. Which is just I just don't like being in that place. It just really didn't feel right. But that level of funding, I really don't. I can't give you an honest answer where you're going to get that level of funding. But maybe you don't have to do a whole year. Maybe you can do a little bit less. Other places of funding, I mean, there are right now, as far as content buyers out there, there are far more today than there have ever been in the history of content. Far more. If you look at just scripted television, which is a very small as a percentage of what's on television, scripted television, there are more channels airing scripted television shows today than ever. So they're buying up shows left and right. You have to find where your show, identify who's it right for, who it could be right for, and go to them. That doesn't seem like an ESPN show. It doesn't seem like an HBO show. So who is it? And look for the networks, online or offline, that fit that demo that you're imagining. That's my advice.
How's that number feel to you guys? Someone said $1.5 million.
Incredibly high for online.
Yeah. It's like it's.
Well, but are you talking about online, or are you talking about a television show? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could go either way. It would start with online, but you're still talking at 5-6 people you got to pay for a year, follow them around the world, give them tips.
Yeah, I mean, if you couldn't hear him, he said either or, and I guess my pushback to that would be it all starts with you and the decision and the intention in the beginning, every one of us, for each project. I feel like there's like about 3 things that could happen anytime. One is kind of deep and philosophical. We become, better people. We learn more about how to do this crazy thing called our career. The second is marketing. We market the crap out of ourselves with every project that we do. And then that third mystical one is we get paid enough money. So I think you'll find over cocktails tonight, there's probably nobody here that thinks we're all getting as much money as our great projects deserve. But you have to come with some specific intention. And I think, as Bernie said, pursue the outlet that seems right for the vision, and then figure out what that right level of funding is. If it's just web, you're going to have a really hard time, going to any of the people we work with and saying, I need $500,000 to travel around the world, when some people are doing projects like that even here at this festival. There's a film I want to see where I think it's called, somebody help me, Chasing the World. Yeah, I bet they didn't spend $500,000. So, you got to start somewhere to sort of start commanding that that level of funding.
So to the panelists, where are the funding streams or the revenue streams for the content today?
Well, there's certainly, you've got your different video hosting platforms. Vimeo, of course, focuses on pay on demand, which allows you to put out the product and then get, a set price. And then you've got YouTube advertising and DailyMotion advertising. And then there's, that's all after the fact, recouping. So it would be, if you actually want the money to come in, you'd have to put your own money into it or Kickstart in the first place, and then hope that you recoup afterwards. Wouldn't you guys agree? I'd say after that, it's just individual investors, right?
Well, you're leaving out the entire topic, which you probably won't have time to even barely scratch the surface of, but brands are stepping up more and more. It's about as easy as, curing terrible diseases, but every year more brands are getting into it. They are. And we're finding in most cases when there's a great original project that's funded by a brand, it's usually the first time the brand's ever done something that isn't a 30-second spot or a 15-second spot, but they're realizing more and more and more that as cord cutting goes on the rise, there's a need to reach an audience outside of a normal commercial, and there's opportunities for all of us there to try and get projects funded that way. It's hard, but it's happening more every day.
And I will say, because we're a live award show, and so we work with brands 100%. We have all the top brands that help fund the show, because we have celebrities, we have red carpet, we have an event that they can brand. But it's really fascinating because for us, I want to be a different award show that is about the content. And it's fascinating because these brands would rather, I don't know if this is the problem, but sometimes they would rather just give you money to put their logo on something than they would actually pay to create branded content. And so I sort of have the opposite challenge where it's like, okay, I know I can get money from these people, but it's in a really boring way. They just want to give us product, and then they want commercials, but it doesn't feel very organic. And I'm here telling them, look, this is not the way that content is going. This is not what our audience wants to see. So it is a challenge to even get brands to spend money on content because they're still a little bit old school, and they still don't quite see the value of doing that. Some of the really, really, really amazing brands like Audi and cars and that sort of thing, they really are. And I know I'm hoping that other brands kind of take that and say, hey, we could do something creative rather than just throwing their money. But branding is a great place to start. Speaking of your show, you have to think of, if you are working with brands, you have to think of who are their audience, what does their audience want to see, because that's how you're going to pitch to them. You say, okay, you're Mountain Dew, I have this car race show, that's a perfect brand because that's who they tailor to. And that's kind of how you pitch it up to them, and that's kind of how you make money off of brands.
So we're talking about funding or revenue?
Revenue.
Revenue. Okay, so two very different things. Yeah. Because revenue can come after you've made your show. So we found there's a ton of ways to make money on the web. And it doesn't have to be video. So Lisbon Diaries, I'm going to give you as an example, has 6 revenue streams today. 6. And let's go through them. YouTube AdSense. You show a video on YouTube, you're in the partner program, the ad shows, you get a cut. Merchandising. We have posters, teacups, journals that are all branded with the character's likeness and or the logo. Those sell. We do pretty well on those. We'll call it mid-5 figures of revenue from that revenue stream. Affiliate marketing. This is something we discovered during Elizabeth Diaries. A lot of people literally like the costumes or the dresses the characters were wearing. So we decided to partner with some clothing lines and say, hey, can you just lend us your clothes? We're going to link to your buy page. If we drive a sale, we get a cut. And they're like, great. That's affiliate marketing. It's nothing new. It's out there. You can go to basically any online store that has an affiliate program and apply and see what you get. Number 4, VOD. Elizabeth Diaries, through Mr. David Katz over there. Hi, David. Is distributed through Stars Digital Media on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, anything else that you can buy something online. And then number 5, we have DVDs. We didn't know if people would buy the show that's available for free online, but sometimes they will. For us, we didn't know our DVD set was going to be a big 9-disc set because it's a big show. So we had to kickstart the DVDs. We had to kickstart the DVDs after we built the audience. So we raised $462,000 on DVD sales. It's crazy. We pre-sold 6,000 DVDs at a $60 clip for a show that's available for free online today. Who knew? And our sixth, I have it here. So shameless self-plug, I'm going to admit this. But it was based on the book. We made it a book again. The book based on the web series, based on the book. So leave that right there. You can check that out.
It's like a talk show now.
Right. So this is published. Secret Diary of Lizzie Bennet is published by Simon & Schuster. It's available in all major bookstores today. Total shameless plug.
Yeah, how much?
But really though, I want to point out that this is not a replacement for the show. It's an expansion of the story. So our fans bought this book and they got more information from the narrative. It's a different experience. We made sure that this could stand alone without you watching the show. So there have been people who have reached out to me and said they bought the book and then they watched the show because they never heard of it. They bought the book because they were fans of Pride and Prejudice and so forth. So that book is available, again, in all major bookstores. It's all available in ebook and everything. And the ebook is pretty cool because it actually links to all the videos between the chapters, so you can actually have this cool experience where you're reading a chapter and watching a video and reading a chapter and watching a video. And then the audiobook is actually read by the actress who plays Lizzie Bennet. So it's like a whole new experience. Huh?
Do you have an app as well?
No, we don't. We're in the market for that. We'll get there. Yeah. But the app market is another way you can make a revenue. We just have not tapped into it yet.
Those are some great examples. Quick question by show of hands. Who here has written a script, has had their hands on story, or is working on a script in any way? Good. So we have some writers here. I'm a writer. I started a New York IAWTV writers group built on a model that Bernie Sue built in LA. He came out and helped us kick off the very first writers group. And we have Ursula Lawrence here. And Ursula, I was wondering, she's from the Writers Guild of America East. If you could share with us, what are the biggest challenges some of your writers are facing and how are they solving those challenges?
That's a great question. Actually, I want to make sure, first of all, that all of you are registering your material with the Writers Guild. You don't have to be a member to do that, but it is actually, I'm sort of laughing as I say, but it is actually important. Do people register their scripts with us? Some of you?
We do.
You do. Well, you're a Writers Guild member. This is so fantastic.
Have to. So, yeah.
Well, you have to, yes. Well, you actually probably don't. You do. You do have to.
Well,
right? Registration is a service that we offer. Right. You can go to WGA-East.org, and you're all in the East, so you should use our service. And actually, the WGA-East, it's 10 years of protection as opposed to the West, which is 5 years. So, you know.
Well, we're in the West.
So you can register. It's essentially an extra level of copyright. It doesn't replace copyright, and obviously you should be copywriting your material, but it puts a timestamp on your creative material so that if you do find yourself in a situation a few years down the road where you shared an idea with somebody and then you see something that looks a lot like what you wrote, you can, God forbid you end up in some sort of arbitration or court hearing or whatever, but you do have extra evidence that you can pull and it's recognized as legitimate that, this is you wrote this at this point in time, it's yours. It's very strong evidence for situations like that. So and it's for any kind of creative material. If it's an outline for a doc, if it's song lyrics, whatever, you can register with us. That's the first thing I would say. In terms of challenges for writers, I mean, it's funny listening to people talk about revenue because the Guild is really here to protect creators, to make sure that creators get paid and to make sure that people's creative rights are respected, and to the extent that people can get things like healthcare, we want to help with that. When I talk to creators who are setting out to do stuff for new media, my advice to them is always get as much upfront as you can. Yeah. I know that that's not super realistic a lot of times, but to be honest, I haven't seen a ton of back end that just comes from ad revenue on just our small, very indie web series. But I think that there is a model now, and I think Rob could actually speak to this more than I could, but there seems to be a model now where a channel or a web platform will give you, creator, here's a chunk of money, come back with 10 episodes. And that seems to be the model that I hear most from people, and I think that that's great. I always tell people to pay themselves a little bit from that. I understand the urge to put all of that into production, but some of that is there for you so you can live, and that's part of the creative process. Eating, sleeping. Small part, yeah. Don't pay yourself to it. And I think that that's going to be, especially for the most indie stuff, that's going to be the most money you see, is that upfront chunk of money. And there are really good people putting that sort of funding into projects right now. So I always tell people, I've seen a lot of contracts with the formula for the back end for a web series. I've seen a lot of different formulas. It never really pays off that much.
The back end is all the views will be right off the bat, and then it'll just go down, and it might have 100 views over the course of a month or something. Well, you're not going to see much later.
I'll give you guys the skinny of our contracts. So Pemberley Digital is a WGA signatory. So we pay health and pension. We pay all the writers per Guild rules. We pay them anyway, but but we're proud to say that. So for us, we never negotiate back end because we figured the WGA will either one day do it and have their own system. And the second reason why we don't do it because it's just an accounting nightmare.
Yes.
You're going against views, against the channel, against particular, and then not only just views, but every view, say on YouTube, is monetized differently because of what ad is shown in front of it, right? Or the quality of the ad. So if you see a pre-roll today versus a pre-roll 6 months from now, that could be a different revenue number. So we just go hey, if you want more money up front, fine, we'll negotiate that. But you are not getting back in on views because we just don't want to do the accounting. It's simple. DVDs and everything else, great. Happy to follow the Guild rules and everything. But I do agree with Ursula. When I myself as a writer will negotiate, or my reps will negotiate for projects, we're just looking at upfront, and everything else is gravy. All this pie in the sky. Oh, if the thing goes to TV, you get this. If the thing does this, I think there's 6 scripted TV web shows that have ever even hit the television screen. Scripted, I mean, there's been a lot of reality, but nothing scripted. And so the chances of that are good luck with that. So you might as well, build it in the beginning. So, yes.
Okay, questions from this side of the room? Someone?
Nothing.
Okay, it's all me.
Go, ask a question.
What would you do if you had, I asked this question this morning and it was great. What would you do if you had a bucket of money? This morning we said 20,000. You guys want to pick another number? 20,000. If you were given $20,000 and someone said, go make a success online with indie television, however you define it, go.
Use it to fund probably 2 months, 16 episodes of some vlog adaptation. I don't know which one off the top of my head for 20,000. That's not very much considering we pay everybody in the system, so 20,000 doesn't stretch very far for us. If it was just me, I would probably pilot something in the kind of experimental format, meaning that this probably wouldn't necessarily mean success, but I think the ceiling is higher. I would design an experience for an app. So an app is a lot of interactivity you can do. You can touch it and do stuff. I would try to do something in that market.
I would just say briefly that the opportunity to get, what'd you say, a bucket of money? I don't think we put a dollar figure out.
20,000.
$20,000. I think that when money comes into the equation in this game, in this life, in the art that we're all living, you've got to think long money and not think short money. You know, the idea to say, I'm just going to make something great and put it out there, whether it's, I don't know, for that amount of money, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes. I'd rather use it to really develop something that could build a life and become a brand that isn't just like, you know, spent, produced, shown, and done. That idea that, you know, something goes away so quickly, I think, isn't the way that we all discover content. So I would put it, almost all of it, into developing maybe just the pilot level of something. And then the other thought that comes to mind now is that, you know, I would sort of delete the whole word indie just for a minute and say I think it's a fallacy. We can't really get anywhere alone. We've got to find like-minded, great people to work with and partner up with and say, look, I just got this bucket of money. You know, can we double the value of that if you join me on this project and we try to build something that can really become bigger than if it was just mine? I forget that one all the time, too.
I think the first thing I would think of with a big bucket of money is I don't have to be alone in this. And like, well, let me, like, you know, your wildest dreams go to who's my favorite unappreciated person on the web that I could pull into a project, and then what could we do to make a little more money and have some sort of successful thing. So then I would push hard against, well, what's a really awesome trending subreddit that's new and they're covering new topics that aren't really covered enough? How can I make video around that? Or how can I make video based around what's trending on Facebook? How can we gain an audience with someone I know is super talented with content that's super relevant right now? That, you know, there's a lot of existing web series and stuff that are covering stuff that's been covered for a while. What's new? I would push against what's new and trendy.
So your question was, you have a bucket of money, $20,000, and you have to be successful.
However you define that.
So, and that's a great question, because I've been thinking, well, what defines success? I think to me, success might be something different than the person paying me. And what I've heard pretty much throughout the day and throughout the weekend is people want viewership. They want numbers. I know the brands that we work with, they want numbers, they want eyeballs, they want viewers, they want fans, they want the audience. So I would have to say, in my personal experience, before I did the show, I actually created a pretty successful parody of a video game that got me millions of views and thousands of followers on YouTube with barely even trying. And I've been dying to do that again, because as big as we think entertainment is, video games is 8,000 trillion times bigger. And it's crazy, but I would go for entertainment that revolved around video games, whether it be a trailer or another parody series, because again, that would immediately get my viewership up on YouTube with barely even trying. So that's what I would do.
Okay. Well, I don't produce, so I feel like it's like yeah. Well, I would find a really talented guild writer. No, I would. I could say I would. Whatever I did, I would. I'm here to talk about this guild. I'll use it. I would do it under a guild agreement, because we don't have any budget minimums. So unlike film and television, under which doing a guild deal can be very expensive, for a new media project for the Writers Guild, you can pay yourself whatever you want to be paid. And often it is you paying yourself, because it's creator-driven, self-produced projects. I see so many web series that are so brilliant and nobody has ever seen them, because somebody will call me, or a member of ours will be working on it as a side project, and they're just web projects that I see sometimes, and I just love them so much, and I have one right now that I think is so great, and I'd probably just try to partner with that person and try to figure out a way to sort of amplify it a little bit.
What is it? I want to watch it.
I love this show that we signed up a couple months ago called Ramsey Has a Time Machine. Has anyone seen it? It's just,
I'd like to.
It's about a guy who has an app on his, I feel bad that he's not here, like telling about it, but he has an app on his iPhone that allows him to be a time traveler, but he uses it for all the wrong things. So he he's like trivia night, and he goes back in time to find out the trivia answer. Like he goes to get the secret ingredient for Coke, and his friends are like, why don't you go back in time and kill Hitler? And then he goes back in time, and there's a line of time travelers who are going to kill Hitler. I don't know. It's so clever, and he's so charming, and it's really funny and underrated, because no one's really seeing it. And I just think somebody. I just find something like that, or this other Vicky and Lysander. Has anyone seen this? I think that's also a great show. There's just all these little great shows that we see at the Guild guild that maybe because people have come to us and because they want help or they want to be in the guild and they know they're good writers, and then I see it and I'm like, God, I wish I could help you get this out, and then we sometimes put it in our newsletter or something, but that's sort of the extent of what we can do. But that's what I do. I find a great show and I would amplify it.
So I'm hearing like a theme of collaboration and partnership and that sort of stuff come up that somehow the 20,000 would help with on some level. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to ask a question.
Yeah, we're all creators here, so it's awesome to have that bucket of money and create something, and that's our go-to. But I wonder, we're talking about how do you get people to see something that's already been made? Is there a time or a place where the fictional bucket of money or funds you can raise should be used on getting eyeballs on something that's already been created? Is there a way that should be done? Advertising for yourself or something like that? I haven't heard that talked about a lot. I'm just wondering if it's...
It's a really good question. You can buy TrueView advertising on YouTube, and it's fairly effective. The problem is we don't always have that, but he just gave us this bucket of money. So now we have a bucket of money, and I would look into that if I had the ability to market that way. I definitely think about doing it. The other thing that's worked tremendously for us, and we got a lot of crap about it when we started our company, we put a lot of effort into PR, and we always made sure that, if we had $10, we were peeling a couple of dollars off because it's just so important. It's so hard. I'll just talk about this all night long. It's so hard for all of us to break out that's a piece of a budget that's usually looked at as an extravagance, and I think it's a necessity to find somebody who's really good at not just old school PR, but new school PR, and find a way to pay that person to help you make noise. It's the most important thing.
Go.
Facebook advertising is a great choice to start if you want to directly advertise towards as sketch comedy, other sketch groups that you admire, or that people that might have an audience that would really click with your content. And what's nice is not only do you get the view for that one video that you promote, but it also kind of throws your Facebook page up there. So that way, if people like it, hopefully they would come back to your page a little bit later. So with Facebook advertising, you don't need to just advertise your Facebook page. You can advertise that actual piece of content. I would save it for later in the game. It's nice for after you've tried every other channel, including pitching to Split Sider and all sorts of every blog you can think of. But it's as direct as it gets. I like that.
Well, I was going to lay this up for Kristen and her content that got millions of views. Why did it get millions of views?
Yeah.
Because it was based off of a popular video game. And it was funny.
Well, the point...
But I want to note that I purposely wanted YouTube subscribers and I wanted views. So I didn't go out and create a custom, piece of content with an original story. I specifically set out to say, I want to build an audience, and that's exactly how I did it, was I built it off of another audience. Our award show is the Geekie Awards. It's built off of popular culture. We cater to independent creators. We give them awards, and that's how we do PR for them. We get their work seen, but it's in the midst of using Stan Lee and having the Batmobile and those things, and that's how we got that show popular, is we're basing it off of things that already exist because those audiences are already there.
Exactly, which is what the lesson is. The lesson is that all you content creators are making something that speaks to an audience, ideally. What is that audience? Now, what I mean, you can't say everybody. That's not the way it works. It's the people who like Buffy or video games, Skyrim, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, people who like Skyrim, well, where are they hanging out? Well, they're playing Skyrim. Well, they're not playing Skyrim. They're probably in the Skyrim Reddit and stuff like that. So if you're doing a show that is one group I met last night was doing a political show, and another group I saw a piece this afternoon, which was an action thriller, a sci-fi thriller, and I'm like, okay, well, you should find those other like-minded fans who are going to like your stuff. And that doesn't necessarily mean your parents or your siblings or your buddies. My show, Liz Bennett Diaries, is Pride and Prejudice. That's a very female audience. Do you think I judge my guy friends for not watching my show? Of course I don't. They're like, we're cool. You don't have to watch my show. It's not for you. So, but I want the literary-minded females that I find or meet up with or whatever, I want them to see my show because I figure they'll like it. So that's how I approach getting
We have another question right here.
Hi. I produce a show called Malice, the web series, which we won an honorable mention at the Geekie Awards, and it was wonderful, and thank you, and that really helped a lot, because that is our audience.
By the way, your show is great. I've seen your show, too.
You did?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm honored, because you're a god in this universe, so that's very flattering.
All right, thanks.
That's amazing. I have a question for Robin, and I heard this earlier in the day, that Facebook is now becoming one of the #1 video sites, or more videos being viewed, I think, on Facebook than actually on YouTube. I don't know if I heard that correctly. So my question is, because now, we produced a really complicated show, and no, we didn't put any money into marketing, and is that afterthought. And now I'm looking at it because I've got, 24 increments of the show. We've got a new season, and our audience is still kind of, stuck in the mud. So now I'm actually looking into buying AdSense ads, or buying, Facebook is pushing me on, buying Facebook ads. So my question to either of you, where do you think the money might be better spent? Buying, the advantage I think about buying Facebook stuff is it drives people to that whole social component on your site, as well as to the content itself. It seems like a double win to me. Is if you buy ads on YouTube, it's just driving views to the content. So I guess my thought is, if you were going to spend whatever it is, they're trying to push $40 a week promoting your brand, do you think it's YouTube is a better bet to go with, or do you think Facebook might be a better bet to go with?
Well, when we talked about your show earlier, I think, there was a question about presenting it as long form or short form, right? So now you're talking about presenting the short form, right? That's your view? Yeah, but I think it's never been too effective for our company when we have some money and we sprinkle it in a couple of places. So I think it's a really good question. I think the best way to learn on how your projects are doing with whatever money you have is, if it's limited money, I'd put it all in one place and really, give yourself a time and a goal to really see what can happen. I mean, there's no question at Facebook that in the last, I would say, it's been about 2 months, they've made a major effort now to fill all of our feeds with a maximum amount of videos. So there's a lot of new energy there. But, you've got to also think about, the target of your audience. The thing I'll say real quickly, and hopefully we get to more people in the audience real quick about YouTube, is that, I worked at MTV for a long time. We used to never like to admit the huge size of teens that watched our audience, because we like to just stand up in front of advertisers and say, we're 18 to 34, because that's what they wanted to hear. YouTube's very honest about their heart and their core, and it really is young. It's really young. The driving force at YouTube is more young and more female than anything else. So I think you got to look at your projects and decide, where's your best, home.
Has it changed? YouTube wasn't that female. It was actually male. I just want to make sure, like when I was talking to YouTube, they were saying that the core audience was 66 male versus female, but it's still young.
Well, it depends on the kind of content, again, and I think, without digging into the specifics of his show,
it's so big,
could be challenging.
I agree with that. I would also, your show is based on a property, so it's referencing a property. Yeah, so referencing a property. So I feel like there's ways to you can look into what else is around there, because there is a fandom or a fan base around the original property that I feel that can be tapped into. You can probably try to tap into our audience, because it is a sort of a connected thing. I know the other adaptations tap into our audience as well, and that's fine. So, but I would try to experiment. For us to say Facebook will work or AdSense will work, who are we to say?
And Facebook can flip a switch and just change it all again. You can pay for likes, and then they can just decide, guess what? Before you used to post, you'd see 10% of your total like audience. Now it's 2%. Why don't you pay for more ads? Maybe we'll switch it around later. Currently, Facebook Video doesn't allow you to run ads against your content if you upload natively to Facebook. It does seem like that may be coming down the pipeline. So I'd wait maybe at least a little bit to see if that's coming up around then, because they're pushing huge on video now, and they're going to be offering that to brands first, but you never know if they might flip the switch for everybody. And then you could actually make some money off Facebook instead of just pushing people to like your page and giving them the content with no revenue coming back.
Great. We have some questions back here in the back.
Hi, my name's Colby. I produce a TV pilot called Gayborhood, and I kind of want to open this up to the whole panel, this question. Do you think it's viable to put your pilot online, say YouTube or Vimeo, to try and gain some traction, or convert it into a web series to kind of get a little more proof in the pudding? Is it viable to kind of extend your pilot and find a way onto television through the web?
Before we answer
Go ahead.
that, can you define your minutes in your pilot? Like, what is it?
Well, it's a 22-minute pilot, so
Okay.
I feel like that's kind of long for web, so my partner and I considered splitting it into smaller episodes and possibly shooting more.
I don't think you're going to sell a pilot to a network that's already produced. So I would not put it online as a pilot. I would put it online as a web series if getting an audience and doing it independently is your object. But as far as networks, if you want to be on TV, they want to develop the pilot with you. The producers and the development executives want to feel like their fingerprints are all over it. So if you've done it already, and they're also going to have a much bigger budget than you ever could. So I would not put it online as like a possible TV show.
I just want to give a quick rapid answer. It's not the right answer, but it's mine. I wouldn't put anything that any of you have done just up on the web, ever, without first taking the time to see if there's a partner in this room or out in the world that's going to help you make much bigger noise for that specific project than you would if you just put it up and say, well, if I just put it on the web and start, tweeting about it, then maybe some people will see it and I'll, get the career of my dreams. I was so impressed recently. I'll just do the story really quick. Creators came to us from Minneapolis. They're a comedy troupe. They all work as stand-ups. They said, hey, we've made some great original comedy. We'd love to know what you think of it. I said, where can I see it? They said, it's on a private Vimeo site. I said, well, you have like one video? And they said, no, we made about 10 sketches. And I said, well, who's seen these? And they said, no one. It hasn't been out yet. And as a network, I got really excited. And then it turned out they were great. So I think, you want to first see if you can find somebody to fall in love with this and help, rather than just it's on YouTube.
And I just want to reiterate PR, because we've talked about it, and I made a whole entire career out of doing small things and then publicizing the crap out of them. If you can't find a network and you can't find somebody to do something for you, and you're like, crap, there was somebody that was part of our award show, was the Record Keeper, and that company, they had the most beautiful web series that was about angels. It was a story about the Bible told from an angel's perspective, and it had like massive controversy within the church, and they're like, we're just going to go throw it online. And we kind of convinced them, no, that is your angle. Controversy is your angle. And now they ended up putting a huge press release out. The director actually went against the church, put a press release out, made controversy his angle. He had people from all over the world that were super angry that they didn't want to put it out there, and that they were angry. He made this huge to-do out of it, to the point where if he just put it on YouTube, it wouldn't have done anything. Now this guy is traveling all over the world with fans that have seen it and loved it, and they're actually helping fund his next project because he found an angle that worked for him. He put a press release out himself. He didn't even hire anybody to do it, and he had an angle that sort of got people interested in it. And so I would definitely recommend that for anybody that has work is, if you need to put that out there yourself, find the angle. I believe you have a female heroine in yours. Play to the bloggers that are all about strong female characters. There's people that are going to want to write about it, and then that in turn creates interest for your show.
By the way, if you can't find those email addresses on the actual website, there are so many email addresses on Twitter if you search it correctly. If you search through, just go to the search area, then you search, say, Wired, and then under people, just load as many results as you can. You do a quick Control F for Wired and then the @sign. You'll just start to see anyone who's listed their email address publicly, and you can build up a great list.
awesome
You tell
tool.
us that again before we drink, but after the panel.
Yes.
Another question back here.
I was just wondering if you guys had any suggestions. I'm a writer, so as somebody without a produced product to put up on YouTube, I get that that's kind of the way to go. I just watched Cheryl Texera's Confessions of a Bittersweet Actress, and she directed, wrote, and edited it for the first time ever. But as a writer, like, are there any alternative ways that you can suggest to promote
do
work?
what exactly?
Write in television. Not necessarily my own project that I'm trying to pitch, but a way to, or if I did have a project, a script or whatever, just a creative way to, either through social media or whatever, that to get attention, or I don't know.
Go, Ursula.
Effectively.
Or it's either you or me.
Make a
It's
ton
you
of
or
friends
me.
with
It's going to be
WGA.
I'll do it, and then I'll turn it over. I have a segue for you.
All right, fine. Go ahead.
I don't want to be a downer, but it is getting a job writing TV outside of Los Angeles is very hard, and we are working very hard at the Writers Guild East to get more TV writing jobs in New York. It is an uphill battle. Shows shoot in New York, they write in LA. It's rough, but people that I've seen who are successful in TV recently did great web series and they put them online, and there are a number of cases like that. I'm sure that we can, there wasn't necessarily like the web series, with the exception I guess of Broad City, but people who got attention through their web series and then got jobs that way. So I mean, if you're not in LA and you don't have an agent or a manager, then you might want to find a way to get your content out there. Otherwise it's pretty hard.
The path for writing and television to me hasn't changed in 10 years. It's the same path. It's writing specs, pilots, submitting to festivals and competitions, hopefully winning them, using that to go to solicit agents and managers and go like, hey, I won, so thus I must be good. Then they look at your stuff, they bring you in, and you try it. But I do agree with Ursula. I think at some point you have to move to LA. You have to be in the trenches. You have to try to get one of those writing.
Don't move to LA. I'm not supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry.
Because we are going to get TV writing jobs, more TV writing
Or
jobs
you
in
can
New
wait
York.
for Ursula to get TV jobs in New York. You can wait for that. But the writer's assistant position in writer rooms is a very powerful place to be. And what Ursula was talking about was scripted, too. Like, there's a lot of shows that produce and write in New York. Saturday Night Live, for example. That's in New York. If you can get in that room, that's probably a pretty good gig.
You know what? When we started doing this like 5.5 years ago, signing up original web content, we signed up some web series, and now we have a lot of those. Somebody on Seth Meyers who had a web series that became Guild. 2 people on the Daily Show had web series. None of these people were in those jobs when they did their web series. So comedy writers who've done original web series have done very well, and I think that people look for UCB. You know, you probably go out and look for specific comics from specific places, and so actually writing a really funny web series can be a very good way to.
And there are classes in New York City just for writing for TV shows. There's a class at the People's Improv Theater, writing for SNL. There's a class writing for late night, and they're taught by people who used to write at these places. So you can actually, meet people who worked there and get all the inside dope.
Okay, I've got one final audience question back here.
Hi, my name's Everett, and I wanted to. Someone said earlier that 22 minutes felt a little long for the web, and I've heard that before, and like one of my ideas got shot down because I wanted to do 5 episodes and they'd each be about 22 minutes long, and I've heard that 22 is too long, or whatever, long form is too long, and I don't buy it because we all binge watch House of Cards. And so where does that stigma come from? Am I just outright wrong, or could you speak to that, the length issue?
Do you have a celebrity? Because I feel like people will watch something that's 22-minute long if there's like a comedians in cars getting coffee. If there's a celebrity, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, he's speaking about the format. So when he's talking about the half-hour format, 22 minutes, sure, of course. Hulu, everything is 22 minutes. Netflix, everything's 22 minutes or more, 44s. It's not too long, but I feel for us as content creators in the space, you just can't just drop 22 22s in because you're immediately going to be compared to the other 22s that have 1,000 times the budget that you have with 1,000 times the star power. So why are you competing against them directly? Play in the space where you can shine and be individuals and showcase some really inventive stuff. If you want to like write a sitcom, go ahead, write your sitcom. No one's stopping you. But there's no reason to say, oh, I have the resources to produce 622s, which is technically a short season of television, especially in the UK market, and release that online without star power or with an indie budget, versus say doing something else and like sampling stuff up, not making so much, perhaps building up your audience, those type of things. So it's not too long for the viewer, but I feel for the content that we in this room generally try to create, it is too long. And also, I'll say that if it's YouTube especially, that 22-minute video is worth the same amount of money right now as that 1-minute video because you get the same ad the one time. So why not chop it up and get more ads just to make more money?
It's funny that we're ending on a question that, from my experience, and we've been doing this 8 years, that's the most asked question in this game. And we used to have a standard answer. Our standard answer used to be as long as it's great. And we tried that for years, and then to the points that were just made, I think we realized that it better be much shorter than you think. In order to get to a point where if you're building a series to last, I think that it's a good goal to think that you want to create long, but if YouTube's the platform, then maybe in round 1 or season 1 or season 2, you're short, and then you're building an audience, you're gaining fans, you're earning trust, and you're building, longer episodes. But there are networks out there now that'll come to us, we'll go in and we'll pitch, and they'll come back and say, it better be 90 seconds, or it better be under 2 minutes. So I think it's getting harder and harder, but necessary for all of us at some level to learn how to tell stories with beginning, middle, and end that are really tight.
Dan, how about DailyMotion?
Well, beyond, I wanted to add a little bit more onto the celebrity thing, because you're asking people for a time commitment, right? And not just a time commitment, but you're asking people also to search for you, find you, and then not watch through the entire first episode. On TV, this works because you're already watching the channel, and then coming up next, there's this piece of programming, and you might just sit there and watch it, no interaction. But when you've got longer form content, even on DailyMotion, it works the same on all these sites. You need that hook off the bat, and that's why movies, you're more likely to see a movie with a celebrity in it than a full cast of unknowns. Either it's based on something or there's some hook already that you want to see it. You need to see a trailer for a 22-minute show before you want to watch the show. So now you're focused on getting the trailer out there. So hey, if there's anything that's going to do it, it's going to be the catchiest trailer in the whole wide world.
By the way, if you do the 22x6s online and it works, I'd be really happy, because I'd be really happy to be proven wrong.
Hell yeah.
Wait,
I think
okay.
a great trailer might
That'd be
the first step.
awesome.
So the web series winner for 2014 at the Geekies was 40-some minute episode. But you know what it was? Star Trek Continues. It was a parody based on Star Trek. So we're going to loop back around to it has to be something that people already want to watch. And I sat through it and I was like, God, this is so good every time I see it. And I've seen it multiple times. But again, that was the only way that they could pull that off, was it had to be based on something that people already knew.
One thing to remember from what Dan just said is about the shareability. Now, just think about online video that we see around, people sending joke stuff or prank stuff all around. Every time I start playing a video that someone has sent me or it's in someone's feed, the first thing I look at after the title is the runtime, right? I mean, please, I see a lot of people shaking their heads. So a lot of you agree with me. And so if I see 22 minutes of something I know nothing about, I'm probably not going to watch it. Especially even if someone goes, you have to watch it, I'll put it aside later. I'll probably forget. It's one of those things. If it's 2 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, okay, I can spend 5 minutes watching this thing on my feed, assuming I'm free at the moment. So there's an advantage if you're doing web content to maximize what works on the web, which is short, shareable, and conversational.
Excellent, guys. I have one final.
Oh, wait, I have a point about time that I feel like, since I have a room full of people that do this, that I should use this opportunity to say this. The one thing that I think is really crazy is when somebody sends me a web series that's 4 minutes long but has an opening credit sequence that's the length that you would put on a 22-minute show. This always happens, and I'm always just like, oh, come on. Do not put a 30-second opening credit sequence on a 4-minute show. Please. Three's the worst. Just 3 seconds.
Advice.
Or no
So,
credits.
Speaking of advice, final question. Really quick, what is the best pearl of wisdom someone in the industry has shared with you that you've kept with you over the years and has been useful to you?
He's got it.
Understand, the sooner you embrace your entrepreneurial spirit, the sooner you will succeed.
I mean, man, that's really hard. I guess I always tell people who are joining the Guild that the best thing they can get out of the Guild, and I think this goes for the broader sort of entertainment community, is you get out what you put in. So go to as many events where you can meet people, be an extrovert. That's hard for a lot of writers, I think. Promote yourself. I mean, I think that some of the things that you need to do are things that are actually the hardest for a lot of creators, but I guess push yourself to do those things no matter what. You have to meet as many people as you can. You have to cast the widest net possible.
I'll go back and re-embrace the word indie and try to answer the question with the best advice I got from my business partner when we started the company as an idea in '06. He said, I asked him to do that crazy thing called quit your job and join me. I've got this really great idea. And he said, okay, as long as we don't do three things. We don't raise too much money, we don't spend too much money, and we don't pay ourselves too much money until we earn a legitimate audience and then build from actual success with the most important people in the world, the fans.
It's all about brand and PR. Every single person, celebrity, product, app, piece of content in the world has a brand. The best directors, the biggest writers, the biggest producers, they have a brand, they have a style that they work with, and that's sort of what builds their audience. They find their niche and they focus on that, and while they're doing it, they're PRing the crap out of all of their work. So while you're making, you constantly have to be talking about yourself, and I know it sucks and it's really hard to do and you sound egotistical, but if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you.
I got my own mic. It's fast. For me, I don't know. No one said this to me, but if I had to pass something along, it would be make something out of every idea. Something like a little comic, a sketch, a quick, take a picture and put it on Reddit. Turn every idea into something until you find like that one that really works for you, and then just keep going with that. I've found a lot of success in that.
I'm going to add one, because there are a couple of writers in this room. How many are aspiring screenwriters in this room? All right, so you are lucky in the sense that there's literally nothing stopping you from your craft. You can write, you're writing right now probably, right? And know that your competition also has this advantage. So, how do you beat them? You can literally outwork them. You can outwrite them. So one of my mentors said to me is like, the time that you're not writing, those thousands of people who want the job that you're trying to get are probably writing and getting better. So what are you doing about that? Are you playing your video games for no reason? Are you watching TV just to waste time? Or are you writing to get better? That's what I'll leave it at.
That's great advice. Folks, I want to just give it up for the panel, and then I've got a few words for you. Please come up and talk with them. They're very approachable and they're nice. So in addition to being involved with the International Academy of Web Television, I've had the privilege of working with three awesome people who happen to be moms, and we started a show called Mom Cave. And we are about to have a party. We need your help, so you can give them free booze and a baby bottle.